Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Animaking 3. And today I'm going to be giving you part 3 of What If Naruto Was Deadpool and Wolverine. Remember to get this one too 100 likes as usual. Share this to all of your friends on your social media platform. And also don't forget to go ahead and check out the brand new episode over at Animaking 2 of What If Naruto Was the reincarnation of the Omni King and the Grand Priest, guys, and enjoy that. And also, if you're new, yes, I indeed have 3 more channels, which I post What If on every single day for you guys to enjoy. So go ahead, check them out, and yeah, enjoy. And don't forget to turn on the bell notification so when I post, because I do post a hell of a lot. So without further ado or wasting any more time, let's begin this brand new episode, shall we? Begin now, guys. So the last spot we left off, we got a flashback of Deadpool's story. It was a few years back, as he woke up in a tube. Exploding out, he proceeded to slaughter a whole deal of people. As he was not in the right state of mind, with his claws jetting out of his hands, he ripped and tore them from limb to limb without hesitation. After taking them down one by one, he fled the base. Going through the nearby town, the people saw his face. They called him a freak. They said that he was a monster, so he ran away. Where he lived in a cave for a couple of weeks, until someone trespassed near the area. He attacked said person, but the person was able to defeat him rather easily with just their base fighting style. He woke up in a house as he smelled something delicious, as it was ramen. He then found the man who said that his name was Yamamoto. The young boy did not have a name, nor did he remember anything, as he didn't know anything about himself. Because he loved to eat the ramen topping known as Naruto, Yamamoto decided to call him Naruto. Yamamoto was actually a very powerful swordsman, one of the most finest in the entire world. However, he left Kiri some time ago because of the war that was plaguing the land, as he decided to strive on for the remainder of his years on this planet. During that time, he taught Naruto what he could, as he come to learn about Naruto's insane regeneration ability, and not to mention under his flesh, there was an extremely powerful metal there. Yamamoto had wanted to use it on his blades, but it was too heavy, but the boy was balancing it perfectly. Yamamoto had died a few years later, and Deadpool had came to the world, as Naruto had named himself as such. Naruto saw people getting killed because of weakness, and he decided to create the alter ego for himself to make sure that he had a separate personality. While the world knew him as Deadpool, no one really knew Naruto, the rich, extremely handsome young man. As we end the flashback, Naruto was residing in a bar as he met a girl. Her name was Guren. At first, she wanted nothing to do with him, but later down the night they were laughing and joking together. She was having a difficult day, and Naruto brought some joy to her life. So they were now relaxing and laughing and talking amongst one another. That turned into flirting, and the next morning, she had to leave early, but the night was truly magnificent and Naruto enjoyed it a lot. So with that, he went to his employer who had another job for him. Someone wanted the hero water that was at the land of waterfall. As Naruto made his way there, his senses picked up on something as he was surprised. It seems like it was fate. Team 7 was left there after Kakashi headed back to the village, as they were facing off against a man. Naruto came there as he took the reins, stealing the hero water and also slicing the man to ribbons. Kakashi arrived at that moment, but he allowed Naruto to flee Deadpool from his understanding because they had nothing against him and they wanted nothing to do with him. Mito was not so happy about it though, as she made her opinion very vocal about it. Sometime later, we find Deadpool heading toward the sand, as he was just returning from a mission when he came across a rather surprising scene. It was the Kazekage being killed by Orochimaru of the Jonin. He dig underground. Because of his very special sensory ability, he was able to blend in to an extent. Orochimaru did not even know that he was there. Once that was said and done, he had information that he would get a lot of money for. So he walked into Konoha. Minato immediately placed him under arrest. After all, given his recent attack on Taki, there was many that was after his head now. However, they came to a little agreement, a bargain, which entailed Naruto giving him information and Minato paying him. However, Minato decided to use this at his advantage, paying Naruto a larger amount of money to stay here and kill as much opposing forces as he can when the attack does happen, because Minato was going to allow it to happen so that he could put an end to Orochimaru once and for all. Because if he was to call it off right now, if he was to get involved, they wouldn't be able to find Orochimaru again. However, during this time frame, Minato was going to go to the sand and convince them to make sure that they made the right choice and not do something extremely stupid. So with that, Naruto simply got locked in prison in the Anvu cells, as the ceiling in there suppressed chakra. As Minato did not trust him to allow him free roam in the village. However, he was paying him a hell of a lot of money, and he would be getting what he desired down here. So there was no reason for him to leave the area, as Minato got to business. However, Deadpool/Naruto was not one to be confined, as he retracted his claws and sliced right through the steel wall before he headed out to the village and decided to have a little fun. So yeah guys, basically let's left off. You guys can switch across the please check of yourselves as we begin this new episode, guys. Wait, it's hot. Ayam said. Ayam was a daughter of Tuki, the ramen chef, as she just handed the bowl to the masked man, who lifted his mask and simply put it to his head. She was rather shocked. He gulped down all of that ramen, just like that. Naruto slammed his hand on the table. God damn, that was good, he said. Never have I come across someone that could create ramen better than Yamamoto. But you did it. I have a very important question to ask you, he said, as he pulled down his mask. Marry me. Ayam blinked at being proposed to this complete stranger. What? Toki said from behind her. You must be her father. I can see the resemblance, said Naruto. I have come here to marry your daughter. She prepared the best ramen that I could ever imagine. The taste was so, actually, I was the one that prepared it, Toki said. Oh. Naruto turned his gaze towards Toki. Marry me. Your ramen seemed to be something discovered by the heavens, blessed by the gods themselves. I don't think I can go on without tasting it anymore. And you being the chef, do me the honor and become my life partner, so the both of us shall spend the rest of our life in complete bliss and happiness. Ayam couldn't help it, as she had to laugh, given the look on her father's face and this rather unique funny stranger. It would have to be a no, said Toki, looking towards the young man, as he's never seen that kind of dress within the village before. As Naruto gripped his chest, I've been hurt so much during my life, and yet this pain is worse than any physical or emotional pain I will ever felt, anytime, any place. But know this, I will always love you, he said. Bye-bye. As he started to walk away, Ayam looked towards her father. I think he was joking. Are, are you sure? Toki said. Wait, did he pay? Ayam looked around as she saw the money on the table. Her eyes went wide at the amount, as it was a note left there. I shall win your affections. Dad, I think this is for you. Toki's eyes started to twitch. Meanwhile, as Naruto was in the village, strangely enough this was his first time being to Konoha. He had to say, it was a rather unique village, one of the most put together that he's come across. Others are more fancy, but the village was well put together. As he wondered why were people looking at him. Oh, the whole Deadpool get up. As he started to wave at them, even blowing them kisses. After all, that is how he greet people. He simply made his way throughout the village. He should not be here. He should be in lockup at the moment, but here he was, enjoying his time going throughout the village. That is when he spotted Red here. As a smile came to his face, he jumped up on one of the nearby roofs. As he flipped to another and headed off, Kushina Uzumaki was simply making her way. There was a bag in her hand with a few items inside, when suddenly someone landed in front of her. Kushina blinked as she paused. Oh, the person said as he scratched his cheek. I guess it's not you. He placed a hand to his chin. Given the few amount of red here in this village, so far I've only seen one. I thought it was you, but it seems I was wrong. Hello? Kushina said. Oh, hello there, he said. A pleasure to meet you. As he extended his hand, Kushina extended her hand and shook his. Oh my god, he said. What's wrong, she asked. You're so beautiful. He tilted his head from left to right, examining her face. I've come across many women in my past, but I have to say, out of all of them, you take the cake. Let me guess. A supermodel, or the face of beauty itself, he said to her. Kushina chuckled slightly at his remarks. However, he realized that she was not releasing his hand, given your features, well, from what I can see, and your rather jokey demeanor. You're Deadpool, aren't you? Pleasure. You seem to know who I am, but I don't know who you are. Oh, my name is Kushina Uzumaki, she said, still holding on to his hand rather tightly. Huh. He started to chuckle nervously. Where have I heard that? Oh, you mean that Kushina Uzumaki? The Red Death? Yes. And I've heard about your interactions with my daughter. Wait, hold on. As he started calculating his mind. So, given that your red hair stands out more than anyone else, and I haven't seen another redhead in the village, I can safely assume that the little tomato is your daughter. Kushina eye twitched. I've always hated that name, she said. That means you know exactly who I am. And given the fact that you're now grip onto my hand so tightly, you're pissed. Well, I'm not just gonna let you go, roaming around the village as you like. After all, you're a wanted mercenary by thousands. Kill without remorse, no empathy. However, my daughter says that you saved her life. Well, she hasn't said that, but it was what I was able to glean from what she was telling me on how much she hated you. You saved her twice now on the bridge, and then back at the waterfall village, where you stole from them, and now they're after you. Tell me, Deadpool, why are you in this village? He got extremely serious as he moved in close to her. However, Kushina did not flinch. You want to know what I'm doing here? Let me guess. You also want to know my purpose. As everything seemed to get a whole lot tense, incredibly so. You see, when I was younger, I wanted a gift. What? You heard me. I wanted a gift. So I wrote a letter to Santa Claus. However, I was told I was too naughty. So my purpose is to hunt him down and put an end to him for not sending me a gift. That's why I'm here. Kushina blinked in confusion. Oh, what? Oh, sorry. Different story, different timeline. He pulled his hand away as he jumped away. Kushina blinked as she realized that it was just a distraction. He broke the bones in his hands by bending it in an unnatural way to slip out of her palm. As he flashed his hand and the bones seemed to be alright. I guess they confused some of the rumors. They say you're unkillable. It seems you just have a rather powerful regeneration. Seems I do. Well, it was nice talking to you. However, I haven't finished exploring yet. By the way, you should really take up a spokesmanship to explore and show your beauty to the world. God knows, this cruel, wicked nation, they deserve some beauty in their heart. With that, he ran off as Kushina started to chase after him. Whoa, you're fast. She reached as she almost grabbed him. However, he threw himself into an alley and ran up the wall and flipped. She ran up the wall and flipped as well. However, the moment she reached the roof, he was standing there. He then grabbed her and jumped off, causing the both of them to fall into a bin. He flipped out and slammed the lid down. As he picked up another bin and placed it on top of that one, he then jumped away. The bin exploded outwards as Kushina emerged. Deadpool glanced behind him as he saw the woman coming after him. However, now she had at least 5 chains coming out of her back. Her face in a rather pissed off mode, as her eyes were twitching. A vein at the side of her head, her hair was flaring. Get back here, she shouted. He placed both hands on his cheek as he screamed before running away. As she chased after him, they leaped from building to building. They jumped as the ninjas around started to catch on to what was going on, and they decided to cut him off. Stop him, Kushina shouted as 3 Jonin stood in his path. One of them was Asuma, the other was Genma and Hayate. They immediately took their guard, ready to fight. However, as he was coming towards them, Genma spat the toothpick out of his mouth. Naruto reached up as he ducked before he grabbed it. Genma was surprised by that. Naruto then threw it back towards him as Genma knocked it away. Asuma pulled out his trench knife and slashed. However, Naruto flipped over him. Hayate met Naruto in the ear as their fists collided as Naruto gripped his wrist and pulled him forward and wrapped his arm around his neck. He then flipped, causing both of them to spin in the air as he kicked him downwards, using his body as a stepping stool which he used to flip. He was about to make it until Kushina chains wrapped around his arms and legs. She slammed him into the building nearby. Ow, he said as she stood over him. You're mine now, she said as she clenched her fists, really pissed off at being thrown into the bin. Everything in her bag was spilled and she was covered in grime and dirt, and she smelled really bad. She brought her fist down. However, he sliced through her chains. She watched as blades came out of his hand. She was surprised as he kicked her off the building. She was caught by Asuma though. The moment they regrouped and jumped to the building side, he was nowhere to be seen. Who the hell was that? Genma said. I don't know, but his description, it's like I've heard about him before. It's Deadpool, Kushina said. Wait, the Deadpool? Here? Why? Genma said, confused. I don't know, said Kushina, but I'm going to find out. Meanwhile, they were having their conversation. He wiped the imaginary sweat off his forehead as he looked around. Finally, I got away, he said, as he returned back to his walking through the village. When his hearing picked up on something near one of the training grounds, he decided to investigate. At the moment, Kuruna Yuai and Uncle Midarashi was currently having a discussion as Uncle was throwing kunais into the log nearby. That was a noise that Naruto's ears picked up on. Strutting out on the field as both women turned to see him, they both blinked in confusion as his clothing can really stand out. He made his way over towards them. "God damn," he said. "What's wrong with this village? And all these beautiful ladies? One after another." "Who are you?" Kurenai said. Naruto immediately lowered his head. "And just my luck. One of the angels that I come across once more doesn't know who I am. And here I thought I made a name for myself. I guess I was wrong." "Hey, wait. I know you," Uncle said. "You're Deadpool, are you not?" she asks. He immediately sprang back to his feet. "I guess I was wrong. You do know of me." Kurenai rolled her eyes. "A drama queen much," she said out loud. "Sorry," Deadpool said, walking over. "I can't help it." "That name," Kurenai said. "I also heard about it as well. You're the mercenary that everyone has been talking about. The one that they said always get the job complete. Even more than that," Uncle said. "A ruthless, bloodlusting killer who does not hesitate to do whatever it takes to get the job complete. It doesn't matter what it entails. I have to say, I never thought I would see you in Konoha of all places." "That begs the question," Kurenai said, getting to her feet. "What are you doing here?" As her gaze narrowed towards him, he raised his hand. "Easy, white chocolate," he said. "I'm not here to fight." "What do you call me?" she said to him. He skipped over her question. "I was just passing through, and I happened to come across you spectacular ladies." "It seems that the rumors were correct," Uncle said. "You're not so bad, especially with your humor." Naruto looked down as snakes wrapped around his legs, as they came up and wrapped around his arms. "However," Uncle said, approaching, as she placed a finger at his chin, "you're not supposed to be here. And if you are, you're hunting someone, aren't you?" she said. Well. "Aren't you the ferocious one?" said Naruto. "How about we get rid of these snakes, and I'll introduce you to one of mine." Uncle looked towards him with a flirtatious smile. "Is that so?" As she looked down. "You're gonna introduce me to your snake?" "Yeah. And he's got a really interesting name. Wanna know what it is?" She leaned forward. "Sure. Why don't you tell me?" "It's Bob." Uncle blinked as she stepped back. "Bob? Really?" "Uncle!" Kurenai shouted at her. "This is no time for that. This is a well-trained killer, and we have no idea what his purpose is within the village. So stop flirting with him," Kurenai shouted at her. "Come on now, Nai-chan," Uncle said. "I was just teasing him." Once again, my heart has shattered into a million pieces. Why oh why must all the beautiful angels hurt me so? Naruto freed himself by ripping the things off him with just brute force, as both of them were rather shocked at his strength. He flipped over Uncle as she lashed her arm out. Hidden shadow snakes! However, he sliced them to ribbons. He landed as Kurenai placed her arm up and tried to place him under a genjutsu. The moment she blinked, he was in front of her. "What the hell?" she said, stepping back. He poked her on the forehead as he flipped over her and landed there until his eyes widened as he jumped away. The entire place was destroyed. Luckily, both girls had moved in time, as chains ripped into the ground with the sole intention of grabbing him. As Naruto landed a distance away, "I thought I lost you." Standing there was Kushina. "I have to give it to you. You're rather hard to trace. I presume that's one of your other special gifts or abilities." He raised his hand in the air. Fine, I give up," he said. "I'll come peacefully." As he extended his arms, they narrowed their gaze towards him as Asuma, Genma, and Hayate also landed within the field. He was surrounded. "There is no escape now," said Genma. "You can't beat all of us." "Pretty cool entrance, but I was just about to give up." Deadpool replied back to him. "So, that kind of suck." Genma eye twitched at that as he started to walk towards Kushina. She slowly approached him, her chains wavering behind her. However, the moment he got close enough, he smiled under his mask. He stepped on the ground, kicking up a stone. He then kicked it straight towards her. Her chain knocked it away, but he flipped away. Genma brought his arms up as he came straight towards him. However, Naruto ducked underneath and pushed his arm right through Genma's embrace before he grabbed him by the face and spun, lifting Genma off his feet as he threw him right into Hayate. He flipped over Asuma as he kicked him on the shoulder before he rolled down and grabbed him by the leg. He pulled it out, causing Asuma to fall flat on his back as he rolled him over. He stomped on Asuma before flipping over Anko, who came slashing out at him. 3 chains came out. One grabbed onto his arm as he sliced right through it as he flipped away. Now he was ahead of the group, as all of them regrouped and got to their feet, rather surprised that he was able to evade them all so quickly. You know, this would be a whole different story if you guys were actually trying to kill me, or if I was trying to do the same. Shouldn't that prove to you all that I'm not here to cause any damage or harm? You're right about that, said Kushina. If we were after you for your life, you would be dead already, but we're just here to capture you. After all, I do owe you my thanks for what you've done for my daughter so far. Speaking of that, shouldn't you be happy to see me and probably even praise me for saving your beloved daughter? And yet you guys are here to capture me. Well, if you would simply tell us what you're doing here, we can sort things out, Kushina said. Alright, fine. Everyone just calm down. To tell you why I'm here, we'll have to go back some time ago. You see, in the beginning there was nothing, and then there was light. Stop, Kushina said. Are you trying to go back to the dawn of time? Yeah. Kushina twitched as she looked at him. Enough of your games. Tell us why you're here. Fine. First of all, hey Beardy, he said to Asuma. Thanks for these. As he was holding smoke bomb in his hand, Asuma quickly reached for his pouch. What the? Boom! The entire place was enveloped in smoke. They rushed through it, however, once they did, he was once again gone. As Naruto was hopping from tree branch to tree branch, making his way throughout the forest, when suddenly there was a flash. He jumped off said tree and landed, as he looked up to see none other than Minato standing there, looking down towards them. I guess that mean you marked me when we met, Naruto said, looking himself over. I told you not to leave, said Minato. I got bored. Sue me. Minato turned his gaze as he heard a lot of ruckus, and he heard his wife's voice. As his sweat dropped, what have you done, he said. Time skip. So, said Naruto, as he was slurping on a rather large cup of juice, as he was purposely making that rather loud slurping sound, as Minato's fingers started to tap on the decks, until Naruto took another big gulp as he slammed the cup down. Man, that's good. I have to say, I've been to a lot of places, and Konoha have some of the finest food. Good job. Well, you did not cook any of them or, well, partake in any of their making, so I guess you're not responsible. Well, bad job, Naruto said. Enough, said Minato. I had a talk with the people at the sand. It seems your information was right. So my action to pay for your help is needed more so than ever. You will be the outside stimulus that will help me put an end to this without any casualty to my own village. As long as you pay me, I'll do whatever you want. Given how pretty you are, I bet that's not the first time you're hearing that, is it? Minato sighed. If you keep on breaking out and doing all sorts of crap, I'm going to call this mission off, he said. No, I don't think you're going to do that. And why not, said Minato. Well, you want me to stay here because you just realize this information is actually truthful. Therefore, if I were to go out in public and spill this information, it would ruin everything. If I were to even visit Orochimaru himself and tell him that you know about him? Minato gazed Naruto dangerously. However, I'm not going to do that, said Naruto as he raised his hands. Easy, easy. You can trust me. Well, I don't, said Minato. That is why I'm paying you. Alright, fine, said Naruto as he threw his legs up and leaned back even more, tipping back the chair that he was on. I guess I can wait. Time skip. Naruto looked up as Kushina came into the location where he was. Even here you found me. Fine, he said as he spread his arms. I'm no longer running. Do your worst. Enough, she said as she sat down. Minato told me everything about the information that you gave him and what is truly going on. And here I thought you were here to do something bad, but once again you're helping. Well, I am getting paid. Yes, you are, she said. But you weren't getting paid to save my daughter's life. Although, she truly despised you for what you've done. Not just her though, Sasuke as well. Oh, the Uchiha. I had to teach him a lesson, give him a little spanking. He was pretty rude. So, why are you here? I wanted to ask you something. And what's that? You've done many things out there. You've been many places. And some of the things that I've heard you done, you show no remorse. Have you ever heard about anyone being kidnapped from Konoha? A mercenary or missing nin being paid to do so? Why, he asks. I'm just curious, she said. Not really. Not many people mess with this village. After all, the handsome one out there is the Yellow Flash. The handsome one. You're speaking of my husband. Wait, husband? Huh. I really haven't been around these parts before, huh? He said to himself. I don't even know who you are. My name is Kushina Uzumaki. Well, it's nice to meet you, Kushina Uzumaki, he said. But I've never heard about anyone being kidnapped before. The moment he said that, he saw the look on her face, as it vanished a moment later though. Well, thank you, she said as she got to her feet. I'll be taking my leave now. And remember, she said, stopping. Try not to do anything stupid. Or else. She cracked her knuckles, causing him to shiver. Time skip. Minato arrived as Ibiki was standing there. In the training hall of the Anvu location, 5 Anvus were on the ground, as they were in pretty bad state. Nothing life-threatening, but they were beaten up quite good. Who let him out? Said Minato. He let himself out once again. This time though he did not stray away. Surprisingly, they're taking rather well to him, as Minato watched Deadpool was facing off against all the members inside, as they were testing themselves against him, and he was defeating them one by one with just reflex and his fists. Minato had realized that he was unnaturally strong, able to throw a fully grown man for a far distance like it was nothing, lifting heavy objects like it was nothing at all. Good thing that he wasn't using those claws that retracted from his hand, otherwise things would have been a lot more bloody. Jiraiya had returned back to the village, as he wanted his help for this. He was also helping his daughter as well, while Minato was getting things ready, as they were nearing the final end of the chunin exams. Time skip. As Naruto was skipping in slow motion, Minato stood there with a rather exhausted look on his face, as Naruto finally reached him and took the blades away from him. He hugged them, he kissed them, he spun, he swung, he danced. Are you done? Said Minato. What? Can't someone miss their blades? Naruto said, sheathing both of them behind him. You know, despite this being like lockup, I have to say, I've been locked up at least 1,000 times now, and this has been the most pleasant. You weren't locked up, said Minato. You were just on sabbatical from your normal work outside. Well, I suppose they could do without me for a couple of weeks. After all, the show is about to begin right now, Naruto said as he strapped up. He stretched as he pushed himself and cracked his back. So, the objective here is to kill as much sound ninja as possible. That's why I'm paying you. Don't worry, Blondie. I have this handled. I'm gonna make quick work of them. Time skip. Mito was exhausted as she looked down towards her down opponent. His name was Neji Hyuga, as she just defeated him. She was tired. She was able to pull off the win and come out on top against the prodigy of the Hyuga clan. There was an explosion of cheers as the people clapped, celebrating her victory. As she looked around, she clenched her fists. She was one step closer into achieving her dreams as Neji accepted his defeat. As the remaining matches went off, Mito started to rest up. When Sasuke arrived, his opponent was probably one of the most dangerous. It was Gaara of the desert. A brutal match engaged between the two. However, all the training from Kakashi was paying off big time. Things went chaotic though when feathers started to fall, as Orochimaru called it. Minato and Orochimaru landed on top of the academy roof where the Sound 4 brought up the massive dome. Orochimaru did not enter Konoha previously because he feared the wrath of Minato. Therefore he stayed out. He did not even enter during the chunin exams. After all, one of his main targets was the Uchiha. However, he will go after the boy once Minato was dead. However, something was wrong. Orochimaru watched how Minato was extremely calm. Yes, the man was a calm individual, but the moment the snakes came in, they were being attacked. It was like Konoha was ready. That is when he saw Sand Ninjas also helping Konoha Ninjas. What is this? What's going on? As Minato merely smiled. Meanwhile, Mito was looking around confused. The moment she felt the sensation, she did as she was told, freeing herself. The Genins were not told about what was going on, as Minato wanted them to focus on the exams, as they were. Only the Jonins and a select few of chunins. A Sound Ninja revealed himself from underneath his disguise, drawing out a small tanto. However, as Mito turned, the man's head flew off. Naruto landed right beside her. She blinked. It's you. What are you doing here? He merely patted her on the forehead. There's no need to worry anymore, because I am here, he said, posing with his hands at his side. Don't get that, huh? He said, flipping, dodging a kunai before bisecting a guy in half. Well, sorry to cut this short, but I got a job to do. Mito, Kakashi called out to her, gaining her attention. As Naruto got to work, he dashed through the field. He flipped over a group before he landed as heads roll, zooping past Konoha ninjas and Sand ninjas. Body parts were sent sailing. Pieces were sent flying everywhere. Naruto jumped right in the center of a large group as they stabbed and poked at him. However, he spun, taking all of their legs off. He then jumped up as he cracked the guy's face with his bare hand, gripping another head before he gripped another and crushed their skull together. He flipped over as he gouged a guy's eyes out and feed it to another before he crushed down on his head. He spun as he was stabbed in the back as he gripped said sword and pulled himself back on it. He then spun and hugged the guy as the sword burst through his chest. He then flipped with the corpse as he used it. He lifted up as he started to whack many Sound ninjas all around. He then jumped in the air as he threw his several mini knives embedded into several skulls. He landed as their body dropped. He dashed across the field like a wild animal as he jumped, tearing throats, ripping heads, ripping limbs. Countless fell in his wake as he ripped through them like they were absolutely nothing, leaving nothing but a horde of blood and death in his wake. A rather large sound ninja caught Naruto right in his embrace, intending on crushing every single bone in his body. Naruto started to scream before he stopped. Oh, I guess a hug wouldn't hurt so bad. He leaned forward and kissed the guy right on his forehead. Thanks. I really needed that today. Before he kicked the guy right in his nuts, forcing the guy to release him as he slipped out of his embrace and jumped on his back. He drove his claws right into the guy's arms, before using them as a puppet to slap away 3 others. He then flipped off and removed the guy's arms in the process. He then held them and slammed them into both sides of his head, snapping his head around. He jumped up in the air, dodging several fireball attacks as he spun and threw the mini knife embedded into several skulls. The Konoha ninjas were all shocked. So were the Sand ninjas as they realized what would have been their fate if things hadn't changed. It seems all of those rumors were true, huh? Genma said as he watched Deadpool got stabbed, poked, gutted at least several times, and yet they didn't slow him down. What the hell is he? As they start to wonder amongst themselves, he's wiped out nearly 50% of the forces in just minutes as he kept on going through them. However, all the battling came to a stop when a monstrous presence could be felt through the entire place as the One Tails could be seen. However, soon after, a massive toad was summoned. Naruto knew who was behind the toads, so he supposed he didn't have to intervene with that. Besides, that thing is huge, he thought. Speaking of huge, he shook his head. No time for that, as he ducked under a slice. He reached up and gripped the guy by the center of the chest, pushing his hands inside before he extended his claws and came up, splitting him into 3 pieces. 5 minutes and 31 seconds. That was all it took for him to wipe out 82% of the amount of men that Orochimaru brought. As he made his way to the roof, he landed as all eyes turned towards him. However, he did not speak to them. He simply started to walk around the dome until he came to the right end. Now what's something like you doing here in this stressful place? The keeper of that part of the dome was one of the members of the Sound 4, Teiwaya. She glared at him, however, she had to keep herself focused and concentrated. As he reached up, no! One of the Anbus called out to him. That is when Deadpool noticed the ashes on the ground. Oh, I see. He took the blades off his back and started channel chakra into them. The blades looked average and normal, but they were far from it. This was the finest work of Yamamoto. Yamamoto, who created the 7 Ninja Swordsman blade. He was a part of it all. This was his greatest work, a part of his legacy. Upon empowering the blades with chakra, there has been nothing that Naruto has met that he could not cut through. He slashed right through the dome, shocking all of them as he jumped inside. Immediately, a surge of chakra was sent by the Sound 4 members to fix the hole as Naruto headed inside. Jumping from branch to branch, there was a lot of branch around. As he moved through, he started to feel where the pressure was coming from. Arriving, he saw Minato zipping and flashing around as intended. As Naruto saw the Jonin watching and waiting, Naruto prepared himself as he bent his knees. Orochimaru was preparing himself to take Minato down as the first and second go at it with him. He was unable to summon the third. There were some problems. The Jonin felt himself falling. Confusion marred his face, not quite understanding what was going on. However, looking down, he realized that his body had detached as Naruto's feet slammed into the side of his face, kicking him away as he smashed into one of the branches. Naruto had slashed him in half, rather easily. As Minato flashed away, looking over, he could not even get to speak as the first and second attacked him. However, Orochimaru's mouth expanded like a snake, dislodging his jaw, as another Orochimaru came out, dripping with saliva. He stepped out completely fine, not a scratch on him. Whoa, so slippery. You must be really popular with the girls. Deadpool Orochimaru said. Of all people, I never expected you to be here. Expected me? You speak like we know one another, said Naruto. Orochimaru chuckled. What's so funny? Or have you finally lost your mind? Too much snake on the brain. The Sannin focused on him. Of course we know each other. After all, I am the one that created you. As Naruto paused. What? Orochimaru stepped forward. You heard what I said. I am the one that created you. It took me some time. I thought my creation had died, but after you were revealed to the public, and after I found out that you have adamantine under your skin, reflecting in those claws of yours, I knew that it was you. A memory flashed through Naruto's mind of when he woke up in that test tube, and he knew what this Sannin was rather famous for. As Naruto's gaze narrowed under his mask, it seems I've made the famous Deadpool speechless. Orochimaru said, stepping towards him. I'm sorry that it took me so long to figure out and find you, but there's nothing to worry about anymore. Orochimaru said, getting closer. As Naruto simply looked at him. Don't you remember, he said. When you first came to, you slaughtered all of them in my lab. There was only one other person that knew that story, and that was Yamamoto. How? What? Naruto stepped back, for the first time not knowing what to say. That's right. I am your father. Naruto blinked in shock. My father? You see, you were not born naturally. As you can tell, your body is special than any other I've come across, or you have as well. I wanted to create a perfect being, someone that wounds or infections could not bother. And I was successful. You heal extremely fast. I made sure that you were the perfect hunter, the vicious, perfect shinobi. Be able to fight for days upon days upon days without rest. Go through any horrendous climate. Push past anything that would be dreadful to most. An unstoppable killing machine. You have been my first and only success in that area. Creating genes into something rather unique. My own DNA was put in to create you, so you and I are one. The Sannin said, stepping closer to Naruto. I'm sure all of these years that you've been alone, lost, not knowing what is your birth, your story, your background. But you now know I was the one that gave you life and brought you into this world. But on that day, I wasn't at that lab. And you ran away. I searched for days, for weeks, for months. I presumed that you had died, just like some of the others. However, it was years after that I started to put it together and realize who you were. And now here you are. Fate has brought you back to me. For you to help me. For you to help me with my purpose, my goal, he said. My son, the Sannin said, stepping forward until, no, Orochimaru cursed as he felt his link to the Edo Tensei. It was gone. Rasengan! Minato appeared like a flash. Orochimaru's eyes widened. It was over. However, Naruto knocked the Sannin out of the way, placing himself between them. the Rasengan tearing across his face as he was able to move in the process. However, in doing so, it tore his mask asunder from the right side of his forehead coming down to his cheek, allowing the mask to drop open, revealing his face. He ducked as Minato pulled back, aiming to the Sannin as Naruto knocked him away. Minato fingers gripping onto the mask. However, the force that Naruto knocked him with, the entire thing came off, revealing Naruto's face, something that Minato was seeing for the first time ever. And Minato looked at him. They had similar features. However, what truly caught Minato was the blonde hair, and at each tip was a red strand. Minato's eyes widened in shock as he looked into those blue eyes. He was shocked. Orochimaru realizing that it's time for them to go. With the Edo Tenseis down, this wasn't a fight that he was confident that he could win, not to mention the sun was against him. "Drop it now," he shouted. "Come, my son. It's time for us to leave." Orochimaru had no idea why. Why in the world was Minato stagnant and not doing anything? But this was the opportunity that he was looking forward to. And with that, they fled. Yes. As Naruto jumped off, following the Sannin, as they were fleeing away. As Naruto was unusually quiet, simply heading along with the Sannin, wanting to know more about himself and everything. Kushina and Mito could be seen, along with Sasuke, as Gaara was wrapped up in Kushina chains. Kushina saw Orochimaru and immediately got ready to fight. However, Drobo slammed his hand in the ground and picked up a huge, massive chunk and launched it towards her. Her chains demolished them. She was about to attack them, but Naruto appeared in front of her and slammed his hand in her stomach, throwing her back. As her gaze looked up, she saw his face. More importantly, his hair. Her eyes widened in shock. "Mom!" Mito shouted as she rushed after her mother. Sasuke glaring at Naruto. Orochimaru gaze focused on the young Uchiha just for a moment. Soon he thought to himself. As they fled, Kushina crashed on the ground hard, as Gaara fell as well. She was in a state of shock and disbelief. Her eyes widened as she couldn't believe it. Time skip. It wasn't long after the invasion, as all of them were gathered. Jiraiya, Minato and Kushina. There was a brief silence, as they all thought about what they saw. It was him, Kushina said without a shred of doubt in her voice. All this time, it's been him. Jiraiya looked towards the both of them. That was a long time ago. How can you? It's him, she shouted. I can feel it. Jiraiya looked towards Minato. He has the same hair. We have the same eyes. The structure of our face. All this time. I don't know what Orochimaru said to him, but he had been helping us throughout the whole thing until he was able to speak to the Sannin. He said something. Kushina's face slammed into the wall. All that time, that damn snake, he was the one that took my baby boy away. He was behind this all. She clenched her fist so tight. When I get my hands on him, I'm going to wring his neck. She had a deadly, ferocious look in her gaze. The intention just to grab and rip the Sannin apart with her bare hands. Her son was alive. They haven't even told Mito yet. But they were both certain. Their son. She remembers sitting with him, asking him if he's heard about any cases of anyone being kidnapped in Konoha when all this time he was right there, alive, alive, as Minato was left shocked, wanting to know everything, to know his story. Why? How did he turn out like that? What did Orochimaru do? He needed to find the Sani now, more than ever. More importantly, he needed to speak to Deadpool, his son. They didn't even get the chance to name him. They didn't even get to raise or know him. He was alive, and they need to find him. As Jiraiya locked in, having faith in the two. Time skip. As Naruto was rather not himself. Yes, it has not been a very fun day. Orochimaru was able to escape unscathed because Minato knew everything. Yes, he did. Naruto had not told the Sannin that he was behind this. However, Naruto had been the one that slaughtered many of his men. The ones that were able to flee wanted Naruto dead, but the Sannin had. Give them one look and they move away. Orochimaru did not care about them. Know that he had his perfect creation back. As the Sannin was standing in front of him. The both of them were at the lab. Everything came rushing back to Naruto as he looked at the Sannin. This is where I created you. You keep on saying that. Does that mean I have no mother? Said Naruto. Unfortunately not. However, I did take the DNA of a woman in order to give you life. However, your birth was not natural. Because I never wanted you to be natural. Can't you see that? You're something far better than any human. I've gave you the next step of evolution. Turn you into something perfect. Something that cannot really be killed. I'm sure. All my testing and theories have pulled off. I've heard rumors and things about you. I've heard all that you can do. Most might think that is an exaggeration, but I know deep down that it is true. I wanted you to be unstoppable, unkillable. So I created the perfect person. And now you're back with me, the Sannin said. I know you must have a lot of questions. But this is it. This is your home. Your slate is clean. It doesn't matter what you've done to my people or what you tried to achieve in the village. You are home now, my son, the Sannin said. As Naruto simply looked at the man. Come with me. There's many for us to discuss. As Naruto simply followed him. He just needed to know more. While his facade was rather funny and hilarious, there was a lot that Naruto always skipped over, but for the first time in an extremely long while, he was learning about himself. Always having this gap, not knowing who or where you came from. He always hated that. But now, here he was. As he could not understand though this feeling, like something was wrong. He knew the kind of man Orochimaru was that did not bother him. He's killed hundreds, maybe even thousands. Him. After all, he did not show mercy or remorse. He's done so much gruesome things. For money. So he cannot judge a Sannin for what he was. Maybe it was in the blood. He told himself. But that was not the problem. It was a face that the Hokage made. And that red-headed woman. He felt bad for betraying them. Usually he always did what he was paid to do. Then again, they did not pay him, but things were good there. However, he has to put that aside. To learn about himself, to know everything about himself from his father. But guys, be in subscribe right here. If you want to see next part and do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. Remember, share to all of your friends in your social media platform. But I'm off for now. See you guys soon. Peace, guys.